Victoria, thank you so much. Please be seated. Distinguished guests, faculty, alumni, family, friends, and lawyers of the class of 2018. Welcome to the 145th commencement ceremony for Boston University School of Law, and our first in the beautiful Track and Tennis Center, located here on Ashford Street behind the Star Market. I should point out one of the good parts is that the Star has a Starbucks in it. So. Today, we celebrate you and all your hard work and perseverance that have led you here to this day and to this place and to an event that we hope will be both memorable and meaningful. Please know that all of us who surround you, whether in person or in spirit, whether family, friends, faculty, or staff, are virtually bursting with pride. Some of us have journeyed with you since before you decided to pursue a legal career, and some of us joined you on that journey along the way. But all of us share an immense feeling of joy that you made it through and are making it to the next chapter in your lives. So to get to that next chapter, all you have to do is make it across the stage without falling flat on your face. And then some of you will move on to studying for the bar. In between, though, relax and enjoy the ceremony. While it is indeed a solemn rite of passage, it's okay to smile, it's okay to laugh, it's okay to have some fun. No one has tripped in my 14-year watch as dean, and it's not going to happen today. And you can start bar study tomorrow. Literally tomorrow. Now, as all of our graduates know, and many in the audience likely suspect, we as faculty can talk at great length on virtually any topic, even those we know almost nothing about. So, I could easily go on for 2 hours or more on what's wrong with the world and what good lawyers can and should do to fix it. Probably by beginning with, as my students will understand, an appreciation for the beauty that is Article 9 of the UCC. But as much as I think that a 2-hour address from me would indeed make the day memorable, although not in a good way, I will limit myself to about 15 minutes, we can hope, in part because the track team may appear at any moment. Now, during my time, I could also put together lofty quotations from legal scholars and academics that would doubtlessly impart both wisdom and wit. But you've probably already heard most of the quotations I could find that would both inspire and instruct. So I thought I would focus on something simpler. When the world seems to be spinning out of control, when our society has lost its way to such an extent that it becomes an act of courage just for a child to attend school, when we aren't sure what our place in the world is, we should step back and find what truth we can in simplicity. A commentator once said that all of a good life could be summed up in these lessons. Play fair, share everything, don't take things that aren't yours, don't hit people, say you're sorry when you hurt someone and mean it, clean up your own mess, and when you go out into the world, watch out for traffic, hold hands, and stick together. Sound advice before you cross Comm Ave. Of course, it was Robert Fulghum who wrote those words in his book, All I Really Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. Hardly Oliver Wendell Holmes on the path of the law, who's quoted in the front of your commencement day programs. And yet, Fulghum is on to something, and I think that you know that. Part of his point is that we live in communities, and we should strive to do right by those in them. At the law school, you have worked tirelessly to foster a sense of community. You came to us from more than 36 states and 22 countries and speaking 28 languages. You graduated from more than 140 undergraduate institutions, and many of you came with advanced degrees, including law degrees from other nations. You came to us from the poorest parts of the American South and the upper-class enclaves of the wealthy. You came to us from deployments in the U.S. Armed Forces in Afghanistan, on aircraft carriers, and on bases around the world. You came to us, to Boston University School of Law, the school of Congresswoman Barbara Jordan, Senator Ed Brooke, and Cabinet Secretaries William Cohen and Gary Locke, to name a few. You came to one of the very few schools that can say, since the day it opened, way back in 1872, and has been open to all students of ability, regardless of race, gender, ethnicity, religion, or socioeconomic status. And you came during a time of steadily increasing incivility, intolerance, disrespect, petulance, and outright dishonesty in our public discourse and on the part of those of both political parties. And yet you came, and here, on this small scale, you built a community out of your difference. You helped each other through personal loss and professional uncertainty. You said thank you to our cafe staff with handmade posters, and you raised funds for its manager when he lost his wife at the too young age of 35. You said thank you to our faculty by nominating them for teaching awards. You turned the tables on Professor Pettit, and you sang to him when you learned how ill he is. And you made sure with your words and all your kindness that he knows how much he is loved and that he has lived a life of great meaning and consequence. And I can't thank you enough for that. You shared your notes with fellow students who were stressed by long commutes, work, illness, or personal obligations. You advocated for positive change, even when you knew it would come after you graduated, whether in the form of better support for students who are also parents, for first-generation professionals, or for the public interest program. You welcomed everyone, whether through videos for incoming students or by holding critical conversations, including one that tried to build bridges between students of different political parties. You also shared your generosity and compassion with the community outside the law school in so many ways. You ran the Boston Marathon to benefit local charities. You served as board members of nonprofit organizations. You helped people apply for citizenship, and you helped citizens fill out their taxes. You worked with state legislators to draft bills to address a wide range of social issues. You stood up for the rights of those who might not otherwise have been heard, whether in your clinics or externships, or when you marched for women or for the Black Lives Matter movement. You even sued the CIA. That didn't get me into any trouble at all. And now you move from a small, familiar space to a larger world that can be quite cold, both literally and figuratively. And it will be your solemn responsibility, in the words of the preamble of the Constitution, to establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty. That's a lot to ask of anyone, and it seems like a particularly daunting challenge today, when it feels as if we have lost our collective appreciation of the values that we thought we had shared for generations. Things like a willingness to take personal responsibility instead of looking for someone else to blame when things go wrong. The goodwill that leads us to give each other the benefit of the doubt instead of always assuming the worst. An appreciation for the importance of gathering facts and engaging in a civilized, rational debate and decision-making instead of leaping to conclusions based on outright lies, half-truths, or 140-character tweets. We seem to have lost we seem to have lost our collective faith and trust in the ability of all of our institutions, including those with the primary responsibility for moving us closer to realizing the vision of the Constitution. You know, people ask why step down as dean. So many reasons. But it is also true that part of it is that it's gotten harder. I wonder now, more than I ever have, whether we still believe in something bigger than just ourselves, whether we still hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. The framers, on behalf of we the people, inspired by those words of Thomas Jefferson, and against the backdrop of values like respect for the individual, tolerance of our differences, and generosity of spirit, values that we seem to have recently rejected and all too cavalierly discarded. They wrote a constitution and they built an entire system of government to vindicate those rights. Now, make no mistake, I would never contend it has been perfect. Far from that. For long periods of time, for substantial segments of our society, the promise of our founding documents has been illusory. And we, the people, has been more a term of exclusion than inclusion for too many. At the same time, though, it has also been true that for generations it has been lawyers who have been at the forefront of vindicating our most cherished ideals, of expanding opportunity, and of guarding our freedom. So as good as Fulgham's advice is, maybe there's a bit more to say, particularly if you do still believe, and if you want to use your lawyerly skills to move us to better times. First and foremost, be people of integrity. President Eisenhower once said that without integrity, no success is possible. Some 50 or 60 years since he said that, that sentiment seems like a quaint remnant of a bygone time. I'm here to tell you it is most emphatically not. Integrity is, if anything, more important today than ever. The reason we may think it's not is because we have confused power with leadership. Anyone can obtain and wield power, and anyone can have power taken away. Only a leader knows how to use power with humility, restraint, and in service of principles bigger than themselves, principles that are worth upholding and worth fighting for. Unlike power, leadership can't be taken away because it comes from within. It comes from character, and integrity is the cornerstone of character. So then also be leaders on small and large stages, in your community, in the nation, and in the world. And if you can't be a leader, be a follower. But be a follower of someone you respect, someone who is a role model, and be a follower who is not afraid to speak the truth to power. Another thing as dean, I've never been short on people who are willing to speak the truth to me. Be tough and be resilient. People will always say stupid, ignorant, and vile things, and they will treat you badly for terrible reasons or for no reason at all. And I'm sorry about that. But history teaches us a few things. One is that the only way to defeat ignorance and hate is with more speech, not less. And by never giving up. Never give up. Never give up on each other. Try to find a way to empathize even with those whose worldview seems 180 degrees away from your own. Bounce back from disappointment and put the lessons you learned from those disappointments to use. Be precise. As my students will know, an unsecured creditor is not the same thing as an unperfected secured creditor. Be precise. Get the facts. There is no such thing as a post-fact world. Get the facts. Get them straight. Then double-check them. Don't post what you don't know to Facebook or Twitter or Snapchat or Instagram or whatever. And keep in mind that the best lawyers understand the limits of the law as much as its power. The law can prohibit and police, it can penalize and punish, and it can try to plug every loophole devised by the mind of man. But it can't create honesty or compassion or strength of character or morality where there is none. And if we think that it can, we are fundamentally misguided. Be proud of the accomplishments we celebrate today and all of those to come, but be humble enough to understand that the world doesn't revolve around you or me or any one of us, but we all share a common humanity that demands that we treat each other with dignity and respect without exception. Be grateful for the opportunities you have already had and for all of those to come, and work to make them available to others who may be less fortunate than you. You know, someone said recently that the American dream is now considered, the term is considered a microaggression. That's really sad, because some of you today are living embodiments of the American dream, like me. You are part of the first generations of your families to attend college and the first generations to attend professional school. I congratulate you, and I urge you not to let that dream die for the generation that comes after you. So be hopeful that we will ultimately reject a politics of division from both parties, and that we will rebuild, strengthen, and improve the ties that have bound us together, ties that transcend even the law and go to the heart of what it means to be we the people. And so in that vein, be a part of the best of what it means to be we the people. As our last lawyer, who was also Commander-in-Chief and President of the United States, Barack Obama, has said, "We the people recognize that we have responsibilities as well as rights, that our destinies are bound together, that a freedom which only asks what's in it for me, a freedom without a commitment to others, a freedom without love or charity or duty or patriotism is unworthy of our founding ideals and those who died in their defense." And of course, and finally, be you. Be the best you can be, and it will be your ideas that will drive progress, your work that will change lives, and your spirit that will lift the hearts of those around you. Yes, you can. Yes, you will. Congratulations.